On this week's Loudini Rock and Roll Circus podcast, we will tell you all about the 10 most expensive albums ever produced. This podcast is guaranteed to make you scratch your head and ask, you paid how much for that? Get ready to rock out with your talk out. It's the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. All right, everybody, boys and girls, moms and dads, children of all ages, welcome to the circus. I am your ringmaster, your whoremaster, and your masturbator.
Oh, boy.
Too much, too soon. Too much, too soon.
Yeah, too much too soon.
TMI.
Welcome back, everybody. It is another great Loudini Rock and Roll Circus podcast. I am your host, Loudini. Also known as Lou Lombardi, also known as Loudini. We have a studio guest today, Pittsburgh Kevin.
How you doing, buddy?
So we'll be hanging out with us for a little while, and he'll be our color commentator, not our colored commentator.
Wow, I knew it was
I am
coming.
not politically correct, and it's a joke.
I knew it was coming.
And if you have no sense of humor, turn the frickin' podcast off right now.
Boom goes the dynamite.
And sitting next to me in the gorgeous striped blazer and sequined tie is the lovely and talented Miss Lily V6.
What's up?
What is up, Lily V6?
What is up? I got a massage last night. Now I'm dying.
Wow.
Because I am old now.
Wrong kind of massage.
She dug that elbow in my hip, but I said, no, done.
Oh, I thought maybe this kind of massage with your legs in stirrups. And
No, not that kind either. Bill Damiano's on, so he's going to go, what the F did I just walk into?
Bill, okay, we got a little business to talk about before we get into the whole podcast thing. Tonight's topic, of course, we're going to be talking about these really crazy expensive records. Some are good, some flopped. Usually, most of them, I think, sucked. But with the exception of a couple. This just proves that, like, more expensive isn't more better.
Did you say more better?
No, I said more betterer.
Oh, betterer. Oh, even better grammar.
More bettererist. It's like people in Pittsburgh. They go down to Sheets's.
Sheets's.
Second time today I've heard that.
Sheets's. Sheets's has it.
Oh, boy.
Sheets's gas went down today.
Great.
Anyhow, so those of you not from Pittsburgh, you can just like erase that part of the podcast in your brain. So before we get into our today's podcast topic, let's do a little business. First of all, my brother, Chris Thunderwolf Dodson, wolfscustoms.online. If you have a musical instrument that you're playing, you're getting photographed with, you're filming, you're doing videos, whatever, you could kind of step it up a bit if you contact wolfscustoms.online and have them do some kind of customizing to your guitar, bass, swinette, ukulele,
Sitar.
Sousaphone, triangle.
Cowbell.
Cowbell. Absolutely. Who doesn't love a gussied up cowbell? Of course, we all do. So if you want your cowbell gussied up, you need to go to wolfscustoms.online. See, here's what it is, guys. Everybody's got the same boring-looking guitars, whatever. So you get with these guys, they can do hollow flash, they do like wood burning, they do all kind of really cool stuff. And now all of a sudden, it kind of takes it up a notch for you. The entertainment level, the eye-catching level of what you're doing goes way, way up when you contact wolfscustoms.online. Great folks. Love Chris Thunderwolf Dodson. Been a supporter of the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus for a long time. What else do we need to tell people about? First of all, reviews. We love reviews. But it's not like a Google review. In the podcast world, it's an iTunes review. So those of you that listen on iTunes, even if you don't listen on iTunes, just go to iTunes and pull up Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. There's a tab that says Rate Review. Click on that. Give us a 5-star. say something nice about us, and then send us a screen cap of it, take a picture of it, whatever, and send it to Lou at LouLombardiMusic.com, and you're going to get entered to win a free T-shirt at the end of April. So so make sure that you take care of that right away, because we want to give away some free T-shirts. We want as many people out there walking around with Loudini Rock and Roll Circus T-shirts as possible. RockRageRadio.com. Thank you, guys. We love Rock Rage Radio. We've been a part of the Rock Rage Radio family for a couple years now. We'll talk about this mid-roll. We'll talk about Rock and Pod Expo mid-roll. We'll get to that a little bit later. So that's the main. Did I hit everything?
I think you got all the things.
I'm a little allergy season here in Western Pennsylvania. So that's pretty much the stuff. I have a studio audience today, so I'm a little nervous.
Nice screw up.
So, anyways, so no shows or anything, Lily?
I'm going to a show on Saturday at Brandy's Basement in Irwin. It's called Wild Street. I don't know who the opener is because they haven't announced it, but it's a $5 cover. And they are an amazing rock band, so I suggest go seeing them.
Did you sacrifice like any small children or animals over Easter or anything?
I will not say. 2 chickens.
I want to do just a couple things. I binged the first season of Castle Rock, which is a series that was on a couple Hulu year or so ago, and I got to say that It was off to a good start. It's kind of a cool idea. It's a sort of a mashup of all the Stephen King stories and characters, and it didn't. I don't know. It just
Didn't do it for you.
No, it didn't. It wasn't enough action. It was a little dragged out, and the sort of resolution to the whole first season was kind of like, no, I didn't really want it to go there. That's kind of silly.
Oh,
it just,
What a
but
disappointment.
It had some great, if you watch it just for the Easter eggs, there's some great Easter eggs in it, because almost all the actors have been in other Stephen King stuff. Like Terry O'Quinn, who was in Silver Bullet, is in it. Bill Skarsgård, who was in It, is in this.
Okay, that's cool. And he's terrifying without the makeup.
Sissy Spacek, Carrie, she's in it. So there's just some fun stuff like that, and there's names and stuff like that. There's a lady in the series. Her name is Jackie Torrance.
That's awesome.
So there's things like that in it that are fun.
I like that.
And
I might watch it anyway.
You'll see a street sign or something that's some kind of reference to something in one of the novels. So if you watch it for that, that's kind of fun to do. And I was like, And I saw it that Thursday night. I went to the late show and saw Godzilla vs. Kong.
Nerd. Was it good?
Yeah, it's a total nerd thing. It is not a good movie. I'd just be straight up. If Keith was here, he'd be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." It's not a good movie, but it's super fun. It's basically kind of like a WWE between Kong and Godzilla.
Right.
The punch-ups and, throwing each other down, and it's a wacky story that makes no freaking sense. But that's not why you go to see something like that.
Right.
You go to see monsters, and the monsters are great, and that's super fun. So if you like that sort of thing, that's a sort of a bit of a movie review. But no, it's not going to win an Academy Award. It's,
I literally thought that said Gusk in your notes.
Yeah.
Not G versus
Gusk.
K.
G versus
I'm like,
K.
what the hell is that?
But no, and so it's just, you have to take it. You have to take it for what it is. You have to take it for what it is. Who's watching?
We've got Bill Damiano
Bill
so
Damiano.
far on your channel, so I don't know who else might be watching.
Is that it? He's the only person watching.
Well, we got 4 people, but he's the only one responding.
Oh, who else is watching?
We can't see.
Oh. Okay. All right. Fine.
Make yourselves known.
Make yourselves known. Say something. Say something. Tell me something good. It's going to cost me another $20. Okay. So let's get into this thing. These crazy records that cost way too freaking much.
Surprisingly, to me, on some of them.
So jump in.
I'll just bring the one you mentioned. We'll just get that guy out of the way. Guns N' Roses, Chinese Democracy from 2008. $13 million. as well as my wasted time for waiting a long-ass time to hear this
14
album.
years?
Something like that. Much anticipated. It was going to be the first new material to come out by the band since Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, and the first album since the Spaghetti Incident. There was an insane amount of hired and fired musicians. Most of the original lineup quit. The only constant band members were Axl and Dizzy. There were several producers hired and let go, and they had tons of material that was put in the trash. Some of the money went to guitarist Buckethead having chicken coops built in the studio, and gimmicks like Dr. Pepper giving away soda to every thirsty person to celebrate the arrival of this horrible album.
I've not ever heard one song off of it.
I only heard the leaked songs that were on the radio before the album came out, and I was just like, meh, switch.
I remember somebody saying, "Oh, this is something from Chinese Democracy," but it was very forgettable, unfortunately.
Yeah. And you could never get Axl in the studio. People would be on the phone with him. He'd be ignoring the calls and never come in. So his salary was already paid. So what did it matter if he came in or not? But they originally planned to release it in 1999. It was delayed and completely recorded in 2000. It became the most expensive rock album ever produced at that time, and Geffen pulled their funding in 2005. And then they also missed the release date for March 2007. And then it was finally released in November 2008, like I said, with the leaked songs that we had heard. But they did debut at number 3 on the Billboard, and it was certified platinum. However, it did not meet the sales expectations in the United States for
I
their
think
happiness.
People probably rushed out and bought
to buy it because they were like, "Oh my gosh, finally!"
It's like, this is. I'm just going to make a comparison to this. And Kevin, you remember, I'm sure, when this album came out, when Boston released Third Stage. After umpteen years, after Boston 2, Don't Look Back was the second album. And, to me, it was too little too late when I heard that record. I was like, yeah, okay, Cool the Engines was kind of okay song. Amanda was a hit, but I always thought it was like a really lame song. Like, it's like, it's no More Than a Feeling or Peace of Mind or any, rock and roll band. It's nothing like any of those songs. It's, I don't know. I just thought that it just was too little. I don't think you could do that. Like, the scene changes too much. Mm-hmm. That you get forgotten, man. I mean, so many things. Like, when that got released, do you realize new metal came and went?
Yeah. It was
all kind of things came and went. All kind of sounds and stuff happened and then went away. And we're still waiting on Guns N' Roses. There's no way that could be, unless it was like an actual masterpiece. Unless they actually came out with Sgt. Pepper's or Dark Side of the Moon or something like that. They had actually done something like that, then it really was good. But the chances of that happening, and look who's involved. I'm sorry. The most unreliable characters probably in the music business.
I was dating, married, divorced, and moved to Miami by the time that came out. So there's that.
I was working at National Record Mart when Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 came out. I was in college. And those were just huge records, and they were deservedly so. They were really good. I mean, it was a brilliant move what they did, and they were the biggest. Them and Aerosmith, they were like the biggest bands in the world that weren't grunge.
Yeah, they were staying away from the grunge
rock
thing.
And roll, and they were able to do their thing. But
yeah, it was just a huge
and it just I mean, and that's the real kick in the pants. And I think we're gonna find out with some of these too. There's another follow-up album on this list that to something, and that is just like insanely expensive to make, and there's one song that gets played once in a while on the radio, and that's about it. We'll get to that in a minute. So what do you got next on your list?
Next on my list is Def Leppard's Hysteria, 1987. Total cost was $4.5 million in 1987 money. I didn't do the conversion, so I don't know what that is. But it was 3 years in the making. It reached to a point where the release date would need to sell 5 million copies to break even. This album had several delays, and it was that's where the money went, was all the delays. The band had personal issues that led to recording sessions being tossed out, the health issues.
People losing arms.
Thank you. Rick Allen lost his arm. Joe Elliott got the mumps. Mutt Lange had a car accident as well. So things like that sort of happened.
Met Shania Twain.
Mutt's recording techniques were time-consuming, and he spent months on recreating drum sounds on a synthesizer. In the liner notes to the album, the band apologized for the long wait between albums and promised to never force fans to wait that long between albums again. However, later events...
3 years, that is not really...
Considering.
Chinese done market. But that's not what the podcast is about, the expensive album, not necessarily about how long, but go ahead.
Yeah, but the next album was delayed 5 years because
those liars.
Steve Clark died. So there's that. But it did, in the end, it did sell 25 million copies, and it is one of their most successful albums to date, if they're not most successful. So.
And what kind of songs are on that record?
Mostly love songs.
But there's some...
What, my porn dancing. That's not what I meant.
My
stripper dancing songs.
Well, what's it called? Say, I'm trying to get you to say the name of the song.
No.
Pour Some Sugar on Me is on that record.
That's not mine, but that is every other woman in the world's stripper song. If you go to a bar and play that song, everybody's on a chair or doing some sort of sexy dance.
Here's, just to compare and contrast, okay? 15, what is it, 13 million for Chinese?
Yes.
The Chinese record was 13 million. Hysteria was 3 million.
4.5.
And 4.5 million. And way more successful, way more, it's a way better album. I mean, my favorite Def Leppard album is Pyromania. That's my personal favorite. But I understand Hysteria. I get why, And Mutt Lange did stuff like, you'd find this interesting, Kevin, like, he would record the guitar solos one string at a time.
Oh, and
so
there's
whenever
that.
you were playing on that string, they recorded that. Like that's how. I mean, it just very.
So he's meticulous, is he?
He was very meticulous, and he wanted the option, I believe, to kind of move things around and put things in different orders if he didn't like something later on. He was a kind of like the band would play, and he would kind of assemble it later on, kind of thing. And he was very nuts about the drums. But that was his thing. I mean, the drum sound on Hysteria and Pyromania is the drum sound on the Cars. You Might Think and all those. What was the name? That was their last big record. We talked about that record.
Yeah, now it's not in my head.
Yeah, but he was the same. He produced that. He had that drum sound was very indicative of the 80s. That was something that he sort of created. So they worked very hard on getting that as well. And at that time, it was harder to do. Today, everything's just you press a button on a computer
and it's done.
But that
much quicker, probably cheaper actually.
Yeah, no, it's very cheap. Yeah. So there's no reason for an album to cost that kind of money. There just is none. I have a studio. I can tell you, there's no. I mean, even guys who are, big time producers will tell you that's just really no. That's just silly.
Outrageous.
Outrageous.
And I do love Hysteria. That's probably my favorite one. But I am also a girl, so there's that.
No, it's okay. That's a good record. I get it. It was a big pop success for them, and but at least for they got some bang for the buck.
Yes, they actually that it made sense in the end. So everything was fine.
It's like one of those movies that's umpteen $1 million to make, but then they go, holy crap, like Titanic or whatever,
right?
Ends up becoming really
Huge.
big. That's like okay, well the end justifies the means there, but when not on some of these. So what do you got next?
Next on my list is Korn Untouchables in 2002. Total cost was $4 million. They wanted to make an amazing sounding rock album that could never be made again. They spent 2 years making the album, 5 months solely on the vocals, and a month working on the drum sound before any of it was even recorded. There were days when Jonathan Davis would come into the studio and he would sing a note. They said he didn't sound right and send him home for the day. And that was it. You're done today. This is wrong. So come back another day. This was the first album recorded in high def 96K, which included high-end equipment and brand new technology. So there's where that money went. The band and a 15-person crew that was living on hefty retainers was another part of the money. They moved to Phoenix and rented houses at $10,000 each for 4 months. Moved to LA and rented houses for that much. Went to Canada and rented houses.
So in other words, a lot of this didn't go into the music.
Right. A lot of it went into renting.
Yeah, being a rock star.
Houses, yes.
Yeah, like
so
like
you can't live
Guns
in
N'
your
Roses
car.
thing. But I got to hand it, man. Nobody can throw money away like Guns N' Roses. So far on this list, Guns N' Roses wins.
They did a great job.
We're just throwing money in the garbage. Sign us to your label, man.
Let's build chicken coops.
We are just gonna waste all of your money.
I mean,
I don't know one song off this record. I'm sorry.
It was mildly successful.
I know. I see Here to Stay, Thoughtless, Alone I Break were singles, but
I'm also not that big of a Korn fan, so there's that.
It sold 434,000, but did not surpass the sales from the Eminem show by Eminem.
So Eminem did better. And there's that.
Eminem's record probably cost a fraction of
Legit.
of that, But yeah, I mean, it's one thing to, if there is, like with the Hysteria record, there is a actual recording cost involved with the music, what they were doing with the music. But with the Guns N' Roses and the Korn thing, you gotta go like,
why, guys? Why'd you waste all that money?
Nah. I mean, it's just you do it because you can, because you're a pampered rock star and people can. People just throw money at you.
That if I were a pampered rock star, I would definitely throw money away too on like the dumbest stuff. Probably like the first 5 years of my career, and then I'd be like, you know what? I need my money back now. So I wouldn't be as crazy as these people. I'd give it 5 years, and then I'd calm down. Just because I'd be like, oh, money all over the place. Let's buy all the new things. Let's buy Beetlejuice jackets that we don't need.
They wanted to make an amazing record, but I don't know. I mean, if you're a Korn fan, chime in and let me know what you think of this album. I know Keith likes their real early stuff, and he wasn't real crazy about their later stuff. So I
literally only like their first album.
That he's the same way. He likes their first record. That's all he likes. So interesting. What's next?
What's next is Foo Fighters One by One in 2002. I, for some reason, don't have money listed on here. Give me a second. I had to put it somewhere. Production on this album was troubled, with initial recording sessions considered unsatisfying and raising tensions between the band members. They decided to redo the entire album from scratch during a 2-week period at Dave Grohl's home studio in Virginia. There was months and months of recording in the studio separately, while the others just sort of sat around and played foosball. They didn't spend $1 million on recording the album. It's $1 million. They spent the $1 million on 29 songs and tossing them to the side and then starting the album over quickly and cheaply. The difference between the original album release happens to be that $1 million price tag original was crap, and the one done in the basement was 30 minutes became the biggest song the band had. So there's that. It was a commercial success, topping the charts in Australia, Ireland, and the United Kingdom, and sold over 1 million copies in the U.S. One by One was very positively received by the critics. Fans loved it, praised the sound and production, and they won a Grammy for Best Rock Album in 2004. Which was the second one for the band. So it was $1 million.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just about forgetting all about that rock star garbage and just let's go to my garage.
And do it right.
And just play like a band and work on the songs. Just be a band and just play. But it's got, like class. I think like Times Like These is a classic like rock tune. It's like, it's like a more modern classic rock tune.
Legit.
So you can kind of look when I see something like that, and again on the Hysteria record, and you hear the wow, these songs are like the songs that the soundtrack of an era and stuff like that. Then you can kind of go, there's some justification with it, but still, even $1 million is a lot of money.
Oh, so let me read a couple things on here. Billy Altman is also on, but I can't see, so there's that. Mike Viscara says, "What's up?"
Mike!
Guns N' Roses is a chick band anyway. I have to disagree with that just a little bit.
Chick band.
Just a little bit. He said, blew out the hearing in my right ear at a Def Leppard Tesla concert in Las Vegas. Bill Damiano likes the album Hysteria, and he went to see Def Leppard and Poison at Star Lake. Other than Joe Elliott calling us Philly, I enjoyed it. Philly, Pittsburgh, whatever.
It's all the same.
People think it is.
It begins with the P. It's in Pennsylvania. We do not care.
Why the accent?
I don't know what I'm doing.
He's like switching it up.
It's like a Spanish accent at this point.
Oh,
Spanish,
we're
Irish.
from Philadelphia. We don't care. Oh, don't worry. It doesn't matter.
And Chris Thunderwolf is now on too.
You can kiss my arse. So that's a kind of Hispanic Irish.
Yeah, you got some mix there.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm doing my own thing. There's a weird DJ on Sirius. He's Dutch or something, and it doesn't sound like an accent. It sounds like a cleft palate problem or something. Like it doesn't. I'm sorry, I don't remember the gentleman's name. It's probably a good thing I don't, because I'm getting sued. But I'm sorry.
You get a letter in the mail.
I can't.
There's this guy in Philadelphia making fun of you.
Yeah, there you are. It's just So believe me, I'm no great announcer. I know. I'm an on. kiss my ass.
That's because you're a real human.
I make more
You're a
money
real
than
boy.
I make more money than all you mother effers, anyways.
Yes.
Maybe they should have just done that. Made the album for about $300. Just buy Dave Grohl some beer and some pizza, and let him make a record.
He probably would have been okay with that.
I'm sure he would. There's a funny story I heard Eddie Trunk tell. He was doing some charity event that he does in L.A. or something all the time, every year. And he said that it was like an outdoor, like at a park. And it had sort of B-level rockers.
Mm-hmm.
Bands like Every Mother's Nightmare and the Bullet Boys and
yes,
not the super. You know what I mean? There was no Motley Crue or
Right.
Van Halen or anything like that.
That's okay.
And it was
I
a
still
kind
would've
of
gone.
the attendance was kind of lukewarm. The response kind of lukewarm. And he was standing back there by the mixer, and he says he sees this guy carrying a couple of grocery bags, long hair, and a
I
ball
think I know
cap
this story,
on.
but yeah, go ahead.
And he realizes it's Dave Grohl. And he's like, Dave, how you doing, man? And stuff like that. And he's like, Eddie, what is this? And he told him what it was. He says, man, I got some milk and stuff for my kids. I got to take kids home. I'll come back. He says, can you, Dave, mind if I sit in and play a little bit? And he didn't ask for any money or anything. He had no ego. He just got up and played with whoever was playing and hung out all afternoon and played with a bunch of the bands.
That's because he's the nice guy of
That's
rock.
the kind of guy Dave Grohl is. So anyway, I don't know why I shared that story. I just think it's a cool story about Dave
It's a
Grohl.
great story. I love that story. About
Who
him.
do we have next on the list?
Metallica, the Black Album, 1991. Total cost was $1 million and 3 marriages. So the story goes, the time recording the album was not fun. There were several fallings out, both with the band, then the producer Bob Rock, who felt that Hetfield could write better lyrics and found his experience with recording with them disappointing. He was expecting the production to be easy, but had trouble working with the band, leading to frequent arguments with the band members over aspects of the album. The whole band felt it was stressful, so stressful that 75% of the band got divorces. Hetfield was the only one who did not. They did endless takes of everything because he wanted perfection, and they had to keep going until it was flawless. Everybody had to think it was flawless. So as you know, if you have more than one person working on something, it's never going to be flawless. So there's that. The money went to 8 months of recording, mixing, re-recording, remixing, and re-reing everything. In the end, it did pay off with 31 million copies sold worldwide. Hetfield described his number one experience as not quite the party he expected. He was in a hotel room and received a fax stating that they were number one. Just another fax from the office. So it wasn't even woohoo party. He was like, wow, I'm number one.
I think that we can put this in the same category as Hysteria by Def Leppard, in the sense that this is a classic album. Like it or not, I know you're not a big Metallica fan, and a lot of Metallica fans
That don't
felt
even like this one.
it's not metal enough, whatever. It's a classic album. I mean, it was a total monster. It was unstoppable. It was everywhere. I remember when it came out. There was what? Okay, so Enter Sandman, The Unforgiven, Sad But True. What's the other ballad? Life is ours, we live it our way. Nothing else matters.
Oh yeah, that one.
Wherever I may roam. I mean, I just off the top of my head, named 5 huge singles off that album. And I'm sure there's others that I'm not remembering. I don't have the thing in front of me at the moment. The album's a total powerhouse. It sounds insane. It sounds freaking great. I don't know, man. I don't know. You can say whatever, man. I mean, I know the metalheads out there, dislike it, but I don't know, man. I think the proof's in the pudding. And again, these songs are now in the pantheon of classic rock.
Yep. It's just a thing.
It's just, I mean, these songs are as big as Paranoid, Iron Man, War Pigs. I mean, they're as big as those songs.
All recognizable. Even if you don't like them, you know the songs, you know it's them. So they didn't do. The only thing they did wrong was the price tag, but they didn't do wrong. So
yeah, I mean, it was expensive. It was hard to make. They probably weren't used to recording that way. And Bob Rock, I don't know, man. his touch on a lot of. I like his sound on a lot of records. I think he does a great job. This is my opinion. The album sounds freaking amazing. But if you're, no, it is not And Justice for All. It's not Ride the Lightning. It's not those records.
And that's okay.
But it's just, but it, it is what it is. But again, when you read back what the money was spent on, just really getting the record right, that makes a little bit more sense than we all rented houses in one city.
We built chicken coops.
Yeah, we built chicken coops, and I heard that Buckethead actually likes the smell of dog poop, and
yes,
they have dog poop around.
Yes, he would let Axl's dogs just take a poo everywhere and just let it stay.
Okay, here's my thing. Here's my thing with it. And Kevin and I were talking about this. If you guys are listening, you know who Buckethead is. Let me know, because there's all kind of rumors about who Buckethead actually is.
Oh, I don't know.
And there was a rumor for a while that he was actually Steve Vai.
Oh.
So, if you know who Buckethead actually is, I would love to know, or just know your theory on who Buckethead is. It's Stevie T. You think it's Stevie T from YouTube? And that would not surprise me. He's too Stevie T's too young. Buckethead's been around long. Buckethead's been around since the 80s. Anyway, so what do we got next?
Next is the Beach Boys / Brian Wilson's Smile.
Smile.
Before I say the cost, let me read into this a little more. The recording process began with a mission statement by Brian Wilson made to dinner guests in October in 1966. "I'm writing a teenage symphony to God." That was a direct quote. It was the 5th studio album by American
band.
There's
no big expectations there,
right.
Not at all.
It did release September 28, 2004. It features all new recordings of music that he had originally created for Smile, an unfinished album by the Beach Boys that he abandoned in 1967. It was an intense emotional undertaking for Wilson, who had been psychologically scarred by the difficulties surrounding the original Smile album that he didn't complete. Some songs from the album's aborted sessions would appear on official Beach Boys albums, but it wasn't until 2004 that Wilson approved Brian Wilson Presents Smile was released. The long delay can be blamed on Wilson's drug intake and depression in the 60s and 70s, which began with the public's tepid reaction to the single release of Heroes and Villains, a song Wilson believed would be as welcomed as the Beatles' Strawberry Fields Forever, which obviously was not.
There's something else about Smile that you have to realize in terms of putting things in place in history. This was to be the follow-up to Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
Pet Sounds is considered, it's like the Beach Boys' Sgt. Pepper. It's
Beatles.
Beatles. No, it's like the Beach Boys doing. It's
I see what you're saying.
Their Sgt. Peppers.
Okay.
Just like one of these. In fact, it was so respected and so loved that even Paul McCartney and John Lennon were very intimidated by Pet Sounds. They were like, "Oh man,
which we talked about last week.
What are we gonna do now?" So this is so he has to follow that up. So what do you do?
Right.
What the hell do you do after that? And then Sgt. Pepper's in the meantime does come out. Mm-hmm. So he's feeling pressure from that. I know that you said you read off Brian's some of his issues there with I know you on drugs and stuff, but there is a documentary produced by Don Was called "I Just Wasn't Made for These Times." It's about Brian Wilson. If you should see it. It's just very interesting documentary. But Brian, he's not right in the head.
Oh yes, I know. I actually saw a behind the music for him.
It's not depression. There's more going on.
There's a lot of things happening
it's
there.
either like some kind of bipolar or he's
suffering.
Yeah, he's got some some issues, man. Of course, a genius, and you kind of right. Don't we have this in our in art? You always have these geniuses that are kind of a little out there, but he's really he was really out there. But I would encourage you to watch the documentary because you really get to see what a genius the guy really was, and the fact that the dude really was dealing with very, very serious problems. That's why he couldn't tour and stuff with them. It just wasn't gonna.
It was very Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't gonna work.
There isn't an official reported figure revealing exactly how much money was spent on the entire album, but Wilson's demands included an Arabian-style tent built in his house for the consumption of sandwiches, weed, and LSD, which ran about $30,000.
It's important.
That's $220,000 now. The placement of his piano in a sandbox filled with 8 tons of premium beach sand.
Premium beach sand.
Yes, I don't know what that means.
Primo. Like
Yeah.
Louis Primo.
Right. The economics behind Good Vibrations, the song produced first and placed last on the track listing, was made public, approaching $75,000, including use of the electro-theremin itself, responsible for $15,000. So it's around today's money $800,000 for the cost of that,
Still not
and
as
many
much-
years.
Still not as much as Guns N' Roses.
No.
Undiagnosed schizoaffective disorder is what Wikipedia is calling it. Yeah.
I have that
that's-
too.
Yeah. I had that, and the doctor gave me an antibiotic and a little cream, and it cleared right up.
Sweet.
You know.
I have to find that. LSD cream.
Did you? Have either one of you guys ever seen the movie Walk Hard?
Yes, I don't like it.
I
Yes.
love that movie, but this is parodied in that movie about in the third act. This is parodied, and it's pretty. I think they pretty much nailed it. If you aren't a music fan or a music aficionado or a music head like Lily and Kevin and Keith and I are, you may not have picked up what that was all about in that movie. It was they were definitely doing a sort of a take on the Smile period of Brian Wilson there with Dewey Cox.
I hate that movie.
I love it. I must have somebody. Sharon introduced me to that movie about a year ago, and I think I've watched it 5 times. I can't stop
get
watching
into
I
it.
just freaking love it.
It's hit or miss with that actor with me, though.
John C. Reilly.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not a podcast about John C. Reilly.
No.
And just in case
Thank
you were
goodness.
getting confused there, real quick though, it is sponsored by wolfscustoms.online. Go get custom job done on your musical instrument of your choice. I also want to mention real quick, Rockin' Pod Expo 2021 starts in 3 months, 30 days, 7 hours, 15 minutes, and 40 seconds from now, August 6th through the 8th in Nashville. Yeah, folks like Billy Sheehan, Don Jameson, Ron Keel will be hanging around. You get to meet these folks and do a little bit of photo taking and things like that. This is an expo for rock podcasters. So, Bill Damiano, you should get your butt down there, buddy, and it would be a good place for you to go. The Loudini Rock and Roll Circus will be representing there as well. So we'll be hanging around and doing meet and greets, and you'll get to meet myself. And Lily, you have to get your ass down there. You got to come.
You keep saying that.
You should come. You'll have a good time. It's totally up your alley. It's
I
totally
can
fun.
see that it
it's
is.
a lot of, and it's a lot of fun. What they're doing this time is they're going to have it spread out into some of the clubs in Nashville, and so there's going to be bands playing. A lot of these guys get together and form like mini super groups and get up and perform each other's songs and things like that. It's just super fun. The band Roxy Blue is going to be there again. Those guys were so cool. They had to have Loudini Rock and Roll Circus mugs when I met them last time. They're like,
Nice.
we need those mugs, we love them. So they're all walking around with Loudini Rock and Roll Circus mugs, which was very flattering and really enjoyed it. So that is, and you want to get more info at Nashville Rock N, with the letter N, podexpo.com, Nashville Rock and Pod Expo.com. Go there and check out some information. We have a recorded audio commercial that I'm going to put. Cosby, get out of there! Then I'm going to play for you guys. Sorry, my cat was being obnoxious.
Cosby over there.
Bill Cosby, get your head out of the pudding.
Sorry.
Oh, get your head out of the pudding.
Wow.
See, this is why I stopped drinking on the podcast. But Lily and Kevin made me drink.
We made you. We
They
forced
did.
you to drink.
They did. Those
How old are you? You're an adult. That's right.
He's in his 20s.
A 4-year-old. I just 4-year-old. My name Louis. I'm 4-year-old. So, okay, what's next?
We're going to go with Fleetwood Mac's Tusk.
Yeah, I was wanted to get to this.
1979.
Right, Kevin?
Total cost was $1.4 million.
In 19 what?
1979. Equivalent to $3.52 million today. Fleetwood Mac's 1979 LP Tusk took over the most expensive rock album ever made designation by the media at the time. Previously, it was Queen's A Night at the Opera.
We'll be talking about it in a minute.
Lindsey Buckingham was adamant about creating an album that sounded nothing like Rumors, and he did by the influence, you can tell by the influence of post-punk in the sound, so it is a little different. 23 million copies of the group's previous album, Rumors, would eventually be sold, yet Warner Brothers denied band manager Mick Fleetwood his request for the group to buy his own studio with a company advance. So instead, $1.4 million went to custom fitting Studio D at the Village Recorder in L.A. In the book 33 1/3, it is said that on the very first night of recording, the whole group celebrated Mick's new purchase of a $70,000 sports car with cocaine. Before
the 70s.
before he received a phone call saying that the uninsured car was broadsided and demolished while being towed to his home. When the session ended at 6 a.m. that night, early morning officially ended without any actual audio put on tape. The 20-song double album Tusk would sell for 4 million records. Sell 4 million records, thereby making it a profitable failure to the label. The number of copies Rumors sold compared to Tusk's is the all-time biggest decrease by any recording artist from one major label album to the next. Excuses for its disappointing sales include RKO Radio Networks playing the entire album to its cassette tape recording-capable audiences prior to its release, and its high retail price of $15.98, which would be over $50 in 2014 dollars.
You said that very fast.
Sorry.
What was the thing about the cassette? What did you say again?
They played the entire album to its cassette tape recording. The audiences. Yes.
Oh, they just played the
Thank
entire
you.
album.
Yeah.
So people just hit those
Because
right
the cassette was $15.98. And you, instead of buying it, you could just record it.
Okay, I missed what you
Sorry,
said. Okay,
I said it fast.
I know you and I both talk fast. We're gonna
I
something
know.
we gotta work on a little bit, but I know we both do it.
Which would be $50 in 2014. For that
We're
tape.
just so excited.
I know, I can't help myself.
We're so excited. Other than the song Tusk, I don't know any other songs on it. Is there another song on it that was big? Was Sarah on that?
I don't know.
Let me pull
It's
up
not
the
an album I
track
listen
list.
to. I just know that.
Way of figuring this out.
If there was
Fingertips.
Tusk album, let's take a look.
Let's look at the track listing and see what we have. He insisted on it being like a double
Sarah is on it.
LP too.
Sarah is on it. That's a great song. It's a great song.
So there's really
That's probably the best song on the album. The song Tusk is a cool song with all the all the sound effects and everything
but
like
2
that.
out of 20 songs
Yeah.
for
No.
$1.4 million.
No. Now this is where ego gets completely out of freaking control because they were the biggest band in the world. And don't get me wrong, right, Kevin? We loved Rumors. Everybody loved Rumors. I know. Our generation, that was like one of like the most important albums of all time. I don't know. Did we ever do a thing on Rumors? We might want to do that
I
at some
have to
point.
check because I feel like we did, but we
It
might
seems
not.
like
Have.
we
We might
should
have
have.
talked about it.
We should if we haven't. I mean, come on. It's and I mean, it was really the record where they kind of like, and for a band like Fleetwood Mac that like went through so many iterations, starting with what's his name?
I don't know
Help
what
me
he's
out.
doing.
Peter Green, Peter Green.
Pizza.
And just
Pizza Pan.
everything that they went through just to kind of finally come to this thing with bringing in Buckingham Nicks and marrying these two things together, and then all the personal stuff that they went through that fueled, right? Like all the songwriting and everything. Just it was just like what it was like a moment in time. It was like the Beatles. It was like it was like Dark Side of the Moon. It was like the Black Album by Metallica. It was like a moment in time that this record came together and was just magic and just awesome. And that is so. It's like we talked about Brian Wilson dealing with trying to follow up Pet Sounds. It's what the pressure has to be immense. It just has to be immense. Like, what do you? The only way to deal with that, I think, is to quit. Just be like, well, we did our thing.
Or keep doing that cocaine.
Like the police, cocaine. I think I want from that cocaine. But to just quit, like the police did after Synchronicity,
Right.
or to just totally say, look, man, there's no way we can top that. We're just going to make the best record we can make and just not even worry about it. But this was obviously an attempt to say, well, Rumors was so big, we have to do something like, so we're going to make 20 songs.
But they did experimenting, which I think you shouldn't do if you're trying to follow up a great album like that. I don't think you should go and experiment with things you don't know.
Not to the tune of $3 million.
Right. Yeah.
Just go make a good record.
Yeah. That's the problem. Stick with what you know. If you want to make a big album,
and if you stick with it, and I know nobody here's a big Bruce Springsteen fan, but look at Bruce. He works. He puts out Born to Run. It becomes a really big record. He's a giant rock star. And then, like, the other records after that, like, The River and those, they're good records and he has some songs, but he's not, like, overly concerned about, oh, my God, I've got to duplicate. He just makes the records he wants them. He does an acoustic album, all kind of stuff. And then just through the natural course of things, comes out with Born in the USA. And it doesn't feel like he was trying to do something. This is just the music I'm making right now. And it resonated. So sometimes just chill. Just make the music you make and relax. Well, look at AC/DC. They've been making the same album for 50 freaking years.
But they make it work.
They do. They sound. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that. Well, just do what you do. Chill out. What do you got?
I need to talk about this one. It's not rock, but I do need to talk about it. It's Michael Jackson's Invincible from 2001. The total cost was estimated at $30 million.
What?
Yes, and I will explain.
So this is the top of the heap. It
Yes,
has to be.
it is.
The double what the Chinese Guns N' Roses people did.
The album features appearances from Carlos Santana, Notorious B.I.G. It incorporates R&B, pop, and soul. Similar to his previous material, it talks about love and romance and isolation and social issues and that whole thing. Prior to the release of Invincible, Michael Jackson had not released any new material since Blood on the Dance Floor from 1997. It was looked at as Jackson's career comeback, this Invincible album. When it was released in 2001, it was already being touted as the most expensive album ever made. The large bill had something to do with the 5 years spent recording anywhere from 50 to 87 songs, incorporating several producers and co-writers, and according to one report, booking 3 studios simultaneously because Jackson didn't know which one he'd feel like recording at when he woke up that day.
Wow.
Sony also earmarked $25 million extra for promoting their large investment. At first, 2 singles and a music video featuring Marlon Brando were released, but then advertising was non-existent, and they canceled the tour because Jackson refused to work because he said Tommy Mottola was a racist. So he canceled the tour.
Okay, back up. Who's Tommy Mottola?
Tony Mottola?
Tony Mottola.
Tommy Mottola.
Tommy Mottola was the producer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's so much information.
That's okay. But it did cost $30 million. It did sold 6 million copies worldwide, went double platinum in the U.S., but was not considered profitable at all. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard and in 10 other countries worldwide. The album was certified double platinum in January 2002. It did still cost them money. No tour added to it, so they didn't have to spend that extra $25 million. So that would have been on top of it.
But you would think, though, when was this, 2001 again?
2001.
Okay. So then we still had to kind of, at that time, there was no MP3 and all. Well, no, MP3 was around.
There was.
But it wasn't like.
It's not as
there was
easily
no
accessible.
Spotify
Right.
and stuff like that. Okay. So people still bought stuff, and you could still support a record by touring at that time. And probably that, I would say more than anything else, that probably hurt that thing. Because,
legit.
if they don't, that was right, Kevin? We grew up with that. The band would put out the album. They would tour to support the album, and people would get into the buzz what happened about the shows, and people would want to buy the record, blah, 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 blah. And everybody did it. That was the model. And you spend that kind of money making a record, you don't tour.
You pretty much
I
screwed
don't
yourself,
know.
I'd say.
Michael was losing it, later in his life. He was like, I think the thing about the dude being a racist is sounds kind of fishy to me. I think he just wanted to stay home. And what's that drug they were, doctor?
I don't remember, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they were filling him full of some. I think he just wanted to stay wasted and didn't want to was too tired. Too tired.
Well, at least it didn't end up costing them that extra $25 million, I suppose. But I think he would have made that $30 million back had he did tour.
Yeah, I think that you're making a good. I think you're making. I'm sorry. That's it. You said in a very one sentence that I took like a half an hour to say.
That's
exactly
okay.
it. That's exactly. If they had toured, they probably would have.
Paraphrased.
They probably would have greatly. They would have greatly affected those numbers. So what do you got after this? I know you got something else, right?
The next one is Sgt. Pepper's, 1967. But it was only $400,000 in today's money, so it was on the lower end of that. But it was 60 times more expensive than their first album. Sessions began on November 24th, 1966, at Abbey Road Studios. It's the first time the Beatles had come together since September because they took their little leave off of touring and everything to go pursue whatever they wanted to do. Some of them went to India, some of them just chilled, did their thing.
We're the Beatles.
Right.
We're going to the Maharashi to meditate.
But they did afford the luxury of
I'm Paul McCartney.
You're sick. You sound like a cartoon of him.
I'm the sensitive Beatle. No, I'm the cute Beatle. I'm the cute Beatle.
They had nearly limitless recording budget, and with no absolute deadline for completion, the band booked open-ended sessions that started at 7 p.m. and allowed them to work as late as they wanted. The song Strawberry Fields Forever took 55 hours worth of tape during the recording of this groundbreaking album and went through several versions before the final cut, and there were 2 versions that John Lennon couldn't decide between when the album was wrapping up. In total, Jeff Emmerich estimated they spent 700 hours working on this album.
Okay, again, most of what went into it was the music.
Yes.
And
this was legit.
And you got to realize, guys, today I can create, right now we're listening to my album in the background here. I could get into the computer right now and we could create multiple versions, 3 of us could, in a couple hours, multiple versions of all these songs, boom, boom, boom.
In no time.
But this, in 1966, when they started recording this crazy thing, you had to get all the musicians back together and say, well, let's try doing it this way. No, you play it like that. You do it. No, that's wrong. Let's do that again. This time, and it was a real, it was freaking hard work. Very time consuming, and therefore it's very, very, very expensive. So this is the difference between this and some of the other nonsense we talked about on the podcast today. And you can't really argue with this album, right?
Right, no.
This is the album.
It was
it's the first
legitimately
concept album. It's the first this. It's the first that.
It defined the Summer of Love.
It defined the Summer of Love. It's the album that everybody was trying to. The record labels were looking for bands to do. What's going to be the next Sgt. Pepper's? What's going to be the next Sgt. Pepper's? I mean, that went. People heard that all through the '70s, waiting for the next Sgt. Pepper's. So it's a really important record, and it's not a surprise to me at all that it was expensive to make.
Right.
It sounds great. It's amazing.
It's a great record.
So what, you got anything else?
Last one is Queen, A Night at the Opera, 1975. 40,000 pounds or $500,000 in today's money.
Don't be talking, but you not know pounds.
Well, that's
now you're
what
going to
they
talk about
spent.
quid.
I might talk about quid. I might talk about rupees. After fighting to be released from a management
How many
deal.
Turkish lira is that?
I have no idea. Why are you seriously, guys? Come
How
on.
many yen? Francs?
Zing. Euros.
No, it's Lily's trying to be frank. It's like an airplane joke.
How many shekels? Convert it to shekels.
Are you boys done?
I got more, but go ahead.
Who didn't know that? After fighting to be released from a management deal gone sour, Queen decided to go for broke on A Night at the Opera, which in 1975 was considered to be the most expensive rock album ever made until Tusk came out. The group worked to create their own Sgt. Pepper's album. Particular meticulousness was showcased with Bohemian Rhapsody containing 180 voice chorus.
Scaramouche.
Just Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and Roger Taylor's vocals stacked on top of one another. Created over a week's worth of 12-hour days. Roy Thomas Baker, who we talked about on the show before, was in on this song. He referred to the song as totally insane. We never stopped laughing. It was basically a joke, but a successful joke. It would not be the last time Baker was accused of humor, although, I don't know, he seems like a sour old man. The album was recorded at 7 different studios over a period of 4 months. Queen spent a month during the summer of 1975 rehearsing in a barn at what would become Ridge Farm Studio in Surrey, which there's a great scene for this in the album Bohemian Rhapsody, which is very fun to watch. If you haven't seen that movie, I recommend go seeing that. But it does go on to name all the other studios, which is where the money went. They had to record in all these different studios. Upon release, A Night at the Opera topped the UK album chart for 4 non-consecutive weeks. It peaked at number 4 on the US Billboard 200 and became the band's first platinum-certified album in the United States. The worldwide sales for the album were over 6 million copies. It also produced the band's most successful single in the UK with Bohemian Rhapsody, which became the first UK number 1. Despite being twice as long as the average length of singles during the 1970s, the song became immensely popular worldwide, as well as being reincarnated with the movie Wayne's World.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, it got back on the charts.
Yep.
When Wayne's World came out. One of the funnest movie-going experiences I ever had was seeing Wayne's World in a theater with a bunch of drunk college kids.
Oh, I saw it with my parents.
And it was like everybody was clapping along and singing along and laughing out loud, and it was a good time. It also features the song "You're My Best Friend,"
which I love.
Which is the first Queen single to be written by John Deacon.
Yes, I did.
He wrote about his wife. He's learned to play the piano. He played on the Wurlitzer electric piano. Freddie Mercury hated the Wurlitzer electric piano. I thought it sounded terrible. Terrible! It's a horrible instrument, he said. It's horrible.
Did he say it like that?
He said it's horrible.
I kind of feel like he was more soft-spoken than that.
But in any case.
He told his cats that.
So, Night at the Opera. Bohemian Rhapsody.
And there it is.
The scene in the movie where with the Mike Myers got in like the whole that's fun.
Can I tell you I didn't even know that was him until I saw the credits.
Well, wait a minute. What's interesting though is because Mike Myers is in Wayne's World.
Yes.
And there's that whole there's that whole crossover thing. And people gave them shit about that, and I was like, no, it was perfect.
That's great.
It was totally for the fans.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those moments. It was like, if you love that song and you totally you saw Mike Myers, you're like, ah ha 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 ha. Would have just made it better if they could have got Dana Garvey too.
somewhere in the movie.
Just have him walk by, have him outside cleaning the window or something,
eating the licorice. Yeah, that was great. And I didn't even know that was Mike Myers until the very end of the movie when I saw the credits. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Dude, if you're going to hurl, I say hurl.
But
if she comes back, she's yours, dude.
Wow.
So this was a fun podcast. They're all fun, right, Lily?
Every one of them are fun.
They're all fun.
They're all fun and chipper.
Let's give a couple of shout-outs to some birthdays. This is not on This Day in Music, but it is Warren Haynes' birthday.
Yes, it is.
Merle Haggard. I
love his name.
It's a great name, but happy birthday to Merle Haggard. There's some other famous people here. Hold on. I'm working on it. Frank Black, born Charles Michael Kittredge Thompson, American alternative rock band The Pixies. You know Frank Black is. Said the reason he started playing guitar and writing songs is because of Larry Norman. Larry Norman, that's right. On this day in 1974, California Jam 1 Festival took place in Ontario, featuring the Eagles, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Earth, Wind and Fire, ELP, Black Elk, and Seals and Crofts. Summer Breeze. And this day in 1979, Rod Stewart married George Hamilton's ex-wife, Alana Hamilton, in Beverly Hills, California. The couple had a daughter, Kimberly, and a son, Sean. They divorced in 1984, of course. Gilbert O'Sullivan, this day in 1985, won a lawsuit against his manager, Gordon Mills, for unpaid royalties. What song did Gilbert O'Sullivan do? Alone Again, Naturally.
Guys are old.
Yep.
He said yep. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot.
We're going to talk about Wendy in a minute.
My girl.
On this day in 1987, Roger Waters, he lives over in Cranberry, issued a statement that Roger believed himself to be the creative driving force behind Pink Floyd. Therefore, he would contest the use of the name by anyone else and any former band members of Pink Floyd. He lost. And that was and what ended up happening was there was Roger Waters' Pink Floyd, and then which had like just Roger Waters in it. That was it. And then there was David Gilmour's Pink Floyd, which had Nick Mason and everybody.
I've seen them both perform.
And you know, it was a kind of bad situation because there was actually times when both bands were playing the same night, and Gilmour's Floyd was at like the Guggenheim Dome for like 4 nights in a row, and Roger Waters was playing like a fire hall.
Of course.
You know, and it was kind of depressing.
He lost.
Finally, on this day in 1998, Wendy O. Williams, former singer of the Plasmatics, died from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Gunshot wounds? Like she shot herself multiple times?
Apparently.
Wow. Williams was known for her wild stage theatrics, which included blowing up equipment, near nudity.
I'm pretty sure she did nudity a couple times.
Sawing guitars, Lily.
That's why I love her.
In January 81, police in Milwaukee arrested her for simulating sex on stage. Mm-hmm. Like today. What's that? What's her name? Cardi B? Like, come on.
Right.
Like, you know.
Like Cardi, you didn't come up with it.
Yeah,
like, calm down.
Later that same year, Cleveland, Ohio, Williams was acquitted of an obscenity charge for simulating sex on stage, wearing only shaving
We did
cream.
talk about that on the show for Shocking Stage Shows once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, just in shaving cream.
I do love my girl,
Wendy. By the
Wendy.
way, next week on the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, we're all going to just be wearing shaving cream.
Oh, boy. Can it be lime?
No, it's going to be whipped cream.
Oh. There's that.
I'm a diabetic.
Kevin said he's a diabetic. He'll have to kind of just forget it. All right, guys, you've been listening to Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. wolfscustoms.online. Check them out. Please, if you can, this summer, go check out the Nashville Rockin' Pod, NashvilleRockinPodExpo.com. You can get more information about us and everything we do at LouLombardiMusic.com. Don't forget, if you want to win a free Loudini Rock and Roll t-shirt, Loudini Rock and Roll Circus t-shirt, go to iTunes, give us a good review. Take a picture of it, send it to Lou at LouLombardiMusic.com. And Rock Rage Radio, we love you guys. And Lily, speaking of Rock Rage Radio, you guys know that Lily's like, we got like a famous person here. Lily V6 is a jock on Rock Rage Radio. Tell them about what you do on Rock Rage.
I have my own show. It's called Hot Licks with Lily Six. Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on Rock Rage Radio. You can go to rockrageradio.com or download the free app to your phone. I have interviewed Plush, the all-girl new rock band, so you will hear their interview this Thursday. So tune in.
Awesome. All right, guys, that is pretty much it. Special thanks to Pittsburgh Kevin for hanging out with us. Next week, Keith the Hawk Hawkins will be back. We are really looking for him to come and save us because we just, Lily and I, we just can't behave ourselves. We bring in weirdos like Pittsburgh Kevin and have all kind of problems. We just get out of control. Keith.
We are the weirdos.
Anyways, guys, I hope you guys had a good time, and we'll catch you guys all on the next Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Take care, guys.